I got my first M&P 9 in 2008, and after a few hundred rounds to the pipe, it was obvious that the stock trigger had some room for improvement. The 2008 production trigger had a rough, inconsistent pull, did not break cleanly, and had a long reset with absolutely no tactile feedback whatsoever. So to address these issues, I installed Apex Tactical's Duty Carry Action Enhancement Kit. The Duty Carry Kit smoothed out the trigger pull, making it very consistent, gave it a clean break, and reduced the length of reset. In addition to this, I installed Apex's Reset Assist mechanism, which added a nice tactile feel to the reset, so I could positively tell each and every time when that weapon was indeed ready to fire again. These enhancements I did to not only increase the inherent accuracy of the weapon through better trigger pull, but also to help make it easier to shoot faster. Now, I assumed that any gun that I would acquire in the future of the M&P line, I would have to make these enhancements to and spend upwards of $100, $120 for all the extra parts, not to mention the time to install them. But this last summer, I acquired this 2012 M&P 9. Smith has made some improvements to the trigger over the 2008 stock trigger, and now I do not find it necessary to spend all the money on all the extra Apex parts. I find this trigger to be entirely adequate, but if I were to make one change, it would be the length of reset, and simply because shorter reset is going to mean better rate of fire, at least in theory. So, with that said, I'm just going to demonstrate the difference in length of pull between these two firearms. This is my 2008 with the duty carry parts. This is my 2012. The only addition to my 2012 is the Reset Assist mechanism, which I had installed pretty much right after I got it to give it that nice tactile reset. So that'll make it easier to measure here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get out the micrometer and I'm going to measure the length of reset with each of these pistols using this same slide, so that we'll have some consistency between the two. Alright, so discharge weapon. It's about 0.26 inches. I've done this a few times before making this video, and I was getting right around 0.28, 0.26, 0.28. That's roughly 0.27, but it's right around in that range. It's going to vary slightly each time, obviously. So now, swap the slide over to my 2008 production gun. Now, being that all I'm taking from my 2008 gun here is the lower, the parts that it'll have that my 2012 does not have is going to be the hard sear and a heavier spring, heavier trigger spring. That's necessary to increase the pull to get it up to around 5 pounds. Without that, with the hard sear, you end up with a trigger that's more on the lines of 4 pounds. I found that to be too light. So that's the heavier spring. Okay. Whoa, already reset. 0.15. .17. So yeah, I was getting about those same numbers when I was fooling around with this earlier. So, like I was saying, if I were to make one improvement on the 2012 design, it would be the length of reset. And using my old gun here with the duty carry Apex parts in it, I demonstrated that that hard sear really decreases that length of pull. So with that said, the one thing I am going to do to this gun is add the hard sear, add a, in addition to that, I'll add the heavier spring just to keep that trigger pull right around 5 pounds. And that is going to give it a shorter reset and should make it a little bit easier to shoot quicker.